You've all heard those notes before. It's one of the most famous motifs in the world. It's from Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. But have you ever asked yourself, why is it so famous? So first of all, what is a symphony? Well, it's a piece of music in 4 contrasting movements for a large group of instrumentalists or orchestra. And how did Beethoven change the history of the symphony? Well, he was picking up on the great models of his predecessors, Mozart and Haydn. Haydn had written 104 symphonies, Mozart had written 41, and Beethoven only wrote 9. But his cycle counts as the most famous in history. Why? Well, Haydn and Mozart were writing for an audience that always wanted to hear more. They wrote great music, but it was fairly accessible fairly quickly. Beethoven changed that. He decided to write for posterity, to challenge his audience, to say to them, you're going to need to listen to this many times, but I'm going to go very deep with my music. So his first and second symphonies were more in the model of Haydn and Mozart, but already with his third, he does something drastically different. He makes the length of the symphony much longer, and he has a narrative. He talks about one of his idols, Napoleon Bonaparte. This was the first time anybody had done something like this. And by his fifth symphony, perhaps his most famous, he did something again radically different. He decided to integrate everything around one motif and tell the story of fate. Beethoven deals with struggle in his Fifth Symphony, and he expresses this in a simple way. He creates a motif, an idea, a very simple one, that we'll call the fate motif. And in the first movement, he really handles this around the key of C minor, so darkness. And by the time we reach the last movement, he's moved to light. C major, so the dark first movement, the light last movement. He didn't just create this symphony from that motif. He also created the symphony before from that motif, and a piano concerto. Let's look at it. The motif consists of 2 things, the rhythm, this is my fate, ba, 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 is the rhythm, and this interval, ba, da. And if you take that interval and look at the beginning of the 4th symphony, it sounds like this. So the same fate motif, but he goes a completely different direction with it in that. In his piano concerto number 4, he takes the rhythm. And builds a completely different story out of it. This is something that is fundamental to how Beethoven worked. He took the simplest of musical ideas and built them into universes. So in his symphonies, Beethoven often dealt with the subject of struggle, and that came from personal experience. He led a very difficult life, a lot of physical ailments, of course, his deafness, family trouble, and he never really found love either. In the next videos, we're going to look more at his life, his deafness, and his career.